Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk about snowball weapons. No, I don't mean a literal snowball, although that would be sick for a Christmas themed unlock or something. I mean weapons that reward players with buffs or enhancements for getting kills. There are a few of these and I'm going to talk about all of them, so here we go. Let's get one of my favorites out of the way early since it's by far the least troublesome. The Killing Gloves of Boxing, or KGB, are a heavy melee unlock with dead simple stats. In exchange for a slower attack speed, you gain 5 seconds of guaranteed critical hits on kill, and the timer resets on successive kills. What makes this more powerful than just a gimmick is that the crits are shared across all your weapons, not just the gloves. So you can keep chaining critical kills together with the KGB, or you can switch to your minigun or shotgun and lay down devastating fire with triple damage for a few seconds. This sounds incredible. And it's not. The KGB sounds like it could be a nightmare on paper, but in practice it's really well balanced. In order to obtain the crits, you have to get a melee kill as the slowest class in the game with a weapon that fires more slowly. That's not easy to do, and then even if you do manage to kill somebody, you're still a heavy. You're easy to shoot, easier to dodge, and so slow that a lot of the time the fight just happens without you. Aw man. But for all my talking about how hard it is to use these gloves, when you can pull it off, it's devastating, especially when combined with the panic attack, which lets you start shooting as soon as possible after getting the crits. But even then it's not great. Even a crit boosted panic attack can struggle at medium range. Either that or I just suck. Hard to tell. The KGB is a really well done execution of a snowball weapon. Getting kills makes you more dangerous, but the buff doesn't last the entire match. It's a temporary, very powerful boost. Okay, now we can talk about the Elander. I don't like the Elander. In fact, it's my least favorite Demo Knight weapon to fight against. Why? Because it's so darned easy to use. Using this sword is essentially like playing Demo Knight with training wheels on. Every kill makes you faster and have a higher maximum HP and grants 15 HP to boot. It caps out at 4 kills with a max HP of 235, which when paired with any shield makes you effectively unkillable so long as you play your cards right. I am not a good Demo Knight. Not even close. But even I could go on big killing sprees with some regularity using this thing because it just gets easier the longer you're alive. I hate fighting demos who use this because they're faster than Scout, have more health than Soldier, can charge all over the place and have an extended melee range on top of that. And maybe it's just me, but I cannot figure out what the range even is on the Elander. I get hit from 15 feet off sometimes, and even if I don't, I can't run away, and I can't hope my health outlasts his since he has 235, and resistance to explosive and fire damage. And he can remove debuffs, and he has guaranteed crits on his melee pretty much whenever he wants. I hate this weapon. It is the most extreme snowball in the game and is downright unfair to fight against. Now some of the Solar Light fanboys in the audience might be pushing up their glasses and saying, actually, the Elander has penalties, talk about those. Okay. The Elander has exactly one downside, that being a minus 25 max HP to start with. This downside is meaningless. After one kill, the Demo Knight is already back up above 175 HP, and successive kills take him far beyond that. The equip and holster penalties only matter if you're playing Hybrid Knight, so a subclass of a subclass. Yeah, this weapon has no downsides. Solar Light is not a cool gamer for getting a big kill streak with the Elander in that epic montage. He's just pub stomping clueless casual players with a borderline busted unlock. The only things keeping this sword in check are sentry guns and air blast. And I'm gonna be honest, I hate air blast. I wish it was toned down, but I would gladly take an air blast buff over an Elander buff. I would prefer they buff Sniper before buffing the Elander. That's how much I hate the accursed blade. This is going to be a short section since this item is everything I think the Elander should be. The katana gives you health on kill equaling half your max health, so if you've got 200 HP, the katana will grant 100 HP on kill. The downside is that it's honor bound. Once you draw the blade, putting it away will damage you unless you killed somebody. It also carries the slower equip speed and longer range that all sword type weapons do. So why is this one okay? Well, for one, it grants a temporary buff on kill, not one that lasts until you die. For another, it doesn't stack buffs on top of buffs, movement speed, extra HP, glowing eyes. It just lets you stay in the fight for a bit longer, or prevent yourself from burning to death. If you're injured, it encourages risky play to get that big boost, or can give you a bit more time to get that key pick before dying yourself. If you're playing Hybrid Knight, drawing the blade is an actual commitment, since if you can't get a kill, you have to keep the blade out or damage yourself to put it away. You can negate this by going full Demo Knight, but that doesn't bother me like with the Elander, since full Demo Knights wielding the katana are pretty manageable if you play your cards right. They can't just stay in the fight forever, they have to keep killing people to maintain the buff, and if they can't, they die. Thumbs up from me. Moving on from an obnoxious and loud blade to a sneaky and subtle one, the Kunai is just kind of wonky. As far as snowballing weapons go, it's on both ends of the spectrum. The Kunai lowers your health down to 70, but grants up to 210 overheal on backstab. To start with, you can get killed in one hit by everything. I mean, the Pomson can one-shot a Kunai spy at maximum ramp up. That's how low your health is. A spy needs to be extremely careful before stabbing anyone, since he's even more fragile than usual. But oh man, when you can get that first stab, it's a slaughterhouse. Spy's biggest weakness is that he's not very fast, has low HP, and therefore can't stay in the fight for very long. But the Kunai changes that. Granting massive health boosts on kill lets him keep going as long as he can keep killing people, making it oddly similar to the Widowmaker actually. The Kunai is exponentially more powerful in the hands of somebody who is a master of trick stabbing. I am not one of those people. For me, trick stabs are rare and I celebrate loudly whenever one happens, because it just feels like luck. The Kunai is so good when you're in a position to get that first stab, and you do not always get that opportunity. Ordinary choke point spam goes from an annoyance to deadly when you're going in for your first kill, since any one rocket or grenade can kill you, and if it doesn't, you'll be a sneeze away from death anyway. A lot of spies like to combine the Kunai with the Dead Ringer, giving themselves massive damage resistance to counteract the Kunai's downside, and I don't like doing that. I don't know, it doesn't work nearly as well as some would have you believe. It's certainly not an instant win button, and almost all of my biggest moments were obtained with the good old stocky Inviswatch, not the Dead Ringer. The DR really only works well with the Ambassador or stock revolver, the Enforcer, the Diamondback, powerful guns that can be spammed from a distance. It's not very good for infiltration, especially since even with the damage resistance, your health is so low that it doesn't take much to kill you. I've seen a lot of complaints about the Kunai that apply more readily to the Elander, but using it for myself, it's not very powerful. It's not underpowered by any stretch, but it just casts itself on both extremes so frequently. It's so weak until you get one stab, and then it's so strong until your overheal wears off. And it can evaporate like water in the desert if more than one enemy is shooting at you. 210 health is not that much when the entire enemy team sees you and wants to kill you. I don't know. I guess all the big YouTubers who complain about this thing non-stop are just really bad at fighting Spy. They're not alone, I mean I fall for trick stabs too and it's really embarrassing. But dying on the hill of the Kunai is OP is just kinda dumb. Basic teamwork and communication eviscerate spies using this item, and yes, that is a reasonable suggestion. You can't play Team Fortress like a single player game and then get pissed when it doesn't work. That's just backwards. I prefer the YER and the Big Earner. Honestly, they are way more fun than this knife. I can't even tell if it's balanced, I just don't think it's too strong. It's weighing down both ends of the scale, somehow. I would devote a section to the Diamondback, but I already made a video about that and don't want to repeat myself too much, so check the cards or description if you want my thoughts on that weapon. Suffice to say, it's not a huge problem, and I haven't died to the Diamondback more than 5 times in the past 6 months, so I can't agree that it's OP. Moving on. This one is way less controversial, which is good, and it's also one of my favorites and happens to be really well balanced. The Frontier Justice is a shotgun that grants critical hits based on your sentry's kills. When your sentry is destroyed, you get 2 crits for every 1 kill your sentry achieved. In exchange, it cuts the clip size in half, from 6 to 3. This is very good balancing. You sacrifice half your clip and cripple your damage output, but in return, you can unleash triple damage at any range the moment your gun is destroyed. Not only is it balanced by the smaller clip, but obtaining the buff is super risky since you need to let your sentry gun die to get it. You can destroy the gun yourself to get the crits at any time, which makes it very powerful for when you're caught off guard. But man, when your sentry is down and you have no crits, you are very vulnerable. The Frontier Justice forces me to swap to my pistol to finish many enemies, and I don't find myself needing to do that very often with the stock shotgun. It's fun, powerful, and snowballs hard if the enemy keeps dying to your sentry, but that power has to be built up and can be lost. On death, all your crits are gone. Frontier Justice crits are a limited, valuable resource that can occasionally slaughter entire groups of enemies if they aren't prepared for it. It's a winner, and is probably one of my favorite weapons in TF2. Just entirely. It's another weapon that can seem overpowered if you're on the receiving end of a really good engineer who just always has crits for some reason, but the tiny clip and limited number of crits make it impossible to just endlessly stomp people. I would describe all the weapons discussed today as snowball weapons, in that they reward kills with big power boosts that can then lead to more kills, which can keep the chain going as long as you're alive. You may have noticed a pattern in the weapons I liked or disliked. The ones I like grant limited boosts that require some risk to obtain, and the one I really don't like grants a permanent buff that lasts until you die, which may be never if you have any game sense. Snowball weapons are tricky to balance. You have to make sure the boost is powerful and fun to use, while simultaneously giving it specific weaknesses that the enemy can exploit. Valve has knocked this balancing act out of the park, and they've also failed completely. The Frontier Justice and KGB have the exact same stats today that they did when they were first added, and that's because they're essentially the Thanos meme. Give up the advantages of a big clip or faster swing speed to occasionally be much stronger. The Elander sacrifices essentially nothing, and allows you to become ridiculous. I didn't even talk about the ability for Elander demos to store heads and use the resupply locker to change to stickies and pipes, effectively becoming a stock demo man with the speed of a scout and more health than soldier. I'm just glad that most people don't do that. So how would I balance the Elander? Well, I have two ideas. The first one is simple. Get rid of the health boost on kill. It's just too strong when paired with the shields and the boots, and being able to entirely bypass the intended downside of a weapon just by using it normally is stupid. Demo Knights using the Elander with 4 heads would move just as fast as before, have just as many charges and crit kills, they just wouldn't be a tank. The other idea, which is mutually exclusive with the first, is this. Keep the HP boost on kill, but add a stat that causes Demo Knight to lose 1 head for every charge that does not end with a kill. If he misses or just charges to escape, he loses a little bit of that boost. This would add some risk and decision making to the Elander, and make it impossible to just brainlessly charge everywhere at random. Demo Knights would have to think when employing this weapon, and would have to choose their moment carefully. This would bring the Elander in line with the other snowball type weapons, and if you think I'm insane, this was originally a stat on the Bizarre Bargain, a weapon I didn't talk about because I forgot about it until just now, but yeah, missing with the Bizarre Bargain used to cost you heads. It still should, and the Elander should have the same downside. I would be fine with the first idea though. Either one of these conceptual reworks would make it a much more balanced item. In general, weapons in TF2 should require something of the user, and should have downsides that can't just be bypassed without risk. Most of the time, this is true. I sincerely believe almost every weapon in TF2 is really well balanced, which is why I keep playing and don't uninstall in frustration. I mean, this game isn't Overwatch. Boy, can you believe people play that still? I might pick it up again if Roadhog ever becomes fun to play, so yeah, I'm probably not going to play it again. Roadhog hasn't been fun in years. Wait, this isn't what the video's about.